Mary Tracy Kumar, there is, this is Donald Trump who actually said on television, he said to George Stephanopoulos on ABC that, if somebody offered him dirt, he'd take it. Why not? I'd look into it. Maybe I'd call the FBI at some point, but I would absolutely take it. So they know that he has the propensity to take it. They know he asked for it from Russia. Per the Wall Street Journal's reporting that was advanced by the Washington Post, that he repeatedly asked for this help, and that his personal lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, is there trying to pressure them to find some dirt on the former vice president's son. But the problem is, there is that propensity in media to say, well, let me track that story down. Let's get into the Hunter Biden of it, as well as the Donald Trump of it. And it's very difficult to understand how to turn that switch off on our end, on the media end.
That's exactly right. And I think the biggest challenge, too, is that Ken Vogel doesn't actually declare the source that Peter Schweizer is underwritten by the Mercer family. The Mercer family is a neo-fascist family that underwrites Steve Bannon, that does the Breitbart reports, all of it. So it is not credible. And what they have done so stealthily, they do it so well, is that they know that if they can have any type of story in such an established newspaper, as is the New York Times, that immediately it breeds any sense of legitimacy. And then what happens? Fox News takes it, Breitbart takes it, all of the ultra-right wings take it and say, look, the New York Times is saying it, so it must be true. So that is lack of due diligence. Yeah. And what they're trying to equate this idea that what Breitbart is almost, is a conservative-leaning paper. It is. Right. George Will is a conservative. Bill Kristol is a conservative. Jennifer Rubin is a conservative. And they actually have ideologies that promote democracy and institution building. They have no other choice but to ensure that you create doubt in the American people on any candidate and try to equivocate the two. Yeah. And it's disappointing in the New York Times, quite frankly, because the New York Times, when they try to equivocate something with Biden, with Trump, they're trying to make sure that they continue having access to the president, and right. That is not the way to do it. And that is not really shelling out the information that the American people demand of the New York Times. The New York Times, as is the media, are the fourth estate. The American people expect them to be talking to them and giving them the analysis and not equivocating things because they would like to have access.
Yeah, and Eric, it is ironic. And by the way, I want to note that we did reach out to the New York Times to ask for Ken Vogel to be on the show this morning. Yeah. We did not get a response, and so we were not able to book him, but we did try. Yeah. But there is this irony that the far right, people like Breitbart.com, they claim that they are replacing the mainstream media because the mainstream media is biased to the left, which is laughable to anybody who actually reads the media. But they rely on the mainstream media to carry their narratives, and more often than not, they've been successful. Oh, gosh, and the Times is now they're now 2 for 2 with the Times.
Yeah, you go back to Clinton Cash. I mean, the New York Times formed an exclusive with that book. Turns out it was riddled with errors. Virtually every other news organization detailed the errors that were in that anti-Clinton book. Guess what? The New York Times never told their readers that book we had an exclusive with was riddled with errors.
But there's also the newsroom there, that's the pressure that there seems to be to downplay any sort of conflict with this White House in particular. And I think you could say the same with the Bush White House during the run-up to the Iraq War. But it doesn't seem to happen with Democratic presidents. Or am I just only seeing it because, I don't know, why? No,
you're not seeing it because it doesn't exist. Right. The bullying works. Working the refs works. The New York Times is obsessed. It may market itself as part of the resistance. It's obsessed with kind of being right down in the middle. With this Ukraine story, a lot of people say, well, this is just like, 2016, and the press hasn't learned anything. At some point, we have to ask if a lot of journalists don't want to learn anything. If they are entirely comfortable with this both sides, false equivalency, kind of timidity access journalism, and they like it, and that's what they're going to go through for 2020. So I think they have learned. I think they realize with their mistakes. They will not acknowledge them, and they're perfectly willing to do it all over again.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to turn this into a Washington Post versus New York Times broadcast. I just want to say, because we do have 2 good friends of the show. They happen to both be from the Washington Post. But I want to go to Jonathan on the politics of this, because I want to move now to the Democrats, because the challenge Democrats have. I don't think we have the graphic up yet, but there's a new poll out from inside NBC News that talks about the lack of